Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I was thinking that it is almost impossible for a person like me to be an atheist or an ex Muslim. Now, why I am saying that? The reason why I am saying that is because it is impossible for me to think that God does not exist or there is no hereafter, there is no ultimate justice, and I will not be accountable for my deeds. So I can do whatever I want to do, and it means that everything which I am doing right now will come to an end, whether that be good or bad. It means that I will, at some point, I will lose my parents, my relatives, my loved one, and will never be united again. It means that whatever uh, pain I have seen in this life will not be rewarded at all. So this makes me, and I have tried, I have tried to assume that, let's assume that God does not exist, and within second I get I I have to then come back to my original belief, because it was taking a lot of effort from my side. It was taking a lot of force from my side to believe that God does not exist. I was literally have to suppress myself to believe that God does not exist, or there is no evidence for existence of God. I feel that those people who are atheist or agnostic, either they want to submerge themselves in the pleasures, in the dopamine, and religion is the only barrier they see, so that's the reason they reject God. Or there can be another emotional reasons. Maybe they have seen their parents die, maybe they have seen their loved one died, or any traumatic event which they have seen, which has made them assume that how can God, if he exists, does not prevent all this trauma, and why there the problem of evil, why there is so much pain and misery in this life, and why there is so much sadness and grief in this life. Atheists might feel, but they might come to an emotional conclusion that, oh, maybe this is because, when you make a decision, you try to justify that emotionally and not logically or rationally. And I'm not blaming atheists for them, even the Muslims do the same. But anything we have to come to a conclusion upon anything, then we need to use our mind, we need to use our intellect. And I feel that intellect is more uh, important than science, because at the end of the day you interpret science by using intellect. A person with no intellect cannot know science or cannot even interpret science. So just because some people are good at science, that does not necessarily prove that they are intelligent people. Because these same people, because science have though have a lot of good things in it, but the science has also produced weapons of mass destruction, so because of which many people have died. So science is like a tool, it's like a weapon which can be used for positive and which can be used for negative. Similarly, even the religion is a kind of tool which can be used as positively and negatively. And many people, whether that be common Muslims or the clergies, are using religion in a very negative manner, basically to satisfy their own urge. atheists, I feel, are actually honest in being the villain. They are not pretending that they are good people. Atheists are saying that, okay, fine, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in your prophet, so I will commit these actions even though it goes against your religion. But I feel that the Muslims, they claim to follow their own prophet, they claim to follow God, but they are behaving the same way like the atheist behave sometimes, or worse than that. So because of this, Allah always blames upon the believers. Allah always blames the Jews, Christians, the mushrik of Makkah who believed in God. They were mushriks, but they believed in God. So Allah only always condemns these kinds of people. You will never find that Allah condemns atheists directly in the Quran. You can argue whether atheist or polytheist or not, that's a different discussion altogether. But you cannot show me one verse in the Quran where Allah directly deals condemns atheist. Yes, there are verses, but they are very general, like for in the creation of heaven and earth, in the alternation of days and night are the signs of those who reflect. But here also, uh, Allah is not directly attacking the atheist or directly condemning the atheist. Allah uses the word polytheist, Allah uses the word Muslims, believers, Jews and Christians, but Allah never used this word atheist. Although the mushriks of Makkah believed in God, but Allah never directly calls upon the atheist. So this itself proves a lot of point that Quran actually condemns the religious people, those people who believes in God. And Allah either they does not mention it at all, and even if it mentions, as some people can argue, that polytheists are atheists, that some polytheists are atheists. So I mean, atheism is polytheism. Even though I say that the religious people are condemned directly in the Quran. The Bani Israel, they were religious people. They believed in prophets. They believed in Allah. They believed in books. But their arrogance led them astray. Same goes for the Muslims. The Muslims themselves have become so arrogant these days that they are attacking other Muslims. They are divided into sects. So if an atheist commits something, if an atheist commits a homosexuality act, he considered it valid. He said there is no problem to be a homosexual, there is no problem to be a gay. But if a Muslim, on one hand, condemns homosexuality and say that homosexuality is haram, and I agree with the Muslims that the homosexuality is haram in Islam, but on the other hand, I see that Muslims, especially those people who are in the madrasas, who are the clergies, they are involved in homosexuality. This is not a sin, this is actually hypocrisy. What the atheist is committing is a sin because he does not believe, or most of you can say it is a kufr, because he does not believe homosexuality to be wrong in the first place. So he is consistent with his kufr or with his fusuk. But when a Muslim condemns homosexuality, but at the behind they commit it, this is not kufr, or of course this is a sin, but this is not a normal sin, this is hypocrisy, I would say. So unfortunately, many of the Muslims, because of the hypocrisy, are giving Islam a bad name, and I would blame the clergies for that. I would blame the elders for that. I would blame the Buzurgan-e-Deen for that. I don't care if people like my post or does not like, but I would blame them. Because of them, our youth are getting away from Islam. They feel that this Islam is what these people are practicing. and it is very hard to convince them that separate Islam from the Muslims. It is very hard because we ourselves do not separate Christianity from the Christians, Hinduism from the Hindus. It is very difficult to see like that. It requires a lot of tolerance and lot of justice in a common man to expect them to see Islam and Muslims as separately. Unless he is secular, unless he is not bothered about your religion at all, it is very difficult for him to see your religion and yourself separately. So we are living in a time where Islam and the Muslims actions are blurred. Unfortunately, this is unfortunate. So so expecting people to believe in Islam by looking at the actions of the Muslims is, I feel, very difficult. That either they study the Quran directly, or they meet some good Muslims, hopefully, then they may get some correct interpretation or the correct view of Islam. Otherwise, it is very difficult for them, because you cannot convince anyone by being argumentative, by being debatable. You convince your opponent by your actions, and this is what the Quran says, that repel evil with good and you will find your enemy to be your close friend. And this is what Prophet, peace be upon him, did. Wama arsalnaka illa rahmatan lil alamin. See how he treated his opponents. Are we upon the character of Prophet, peace be upon? Not at all. We are not even close to that. We are not even 1% of that, even though we are commanded to follow Prophet, peace be upon him. We are only satisfying our own ego, and we are not doing what we are supposed to do. And that's the reason our fate will be like that of the Bani Israel, of the Jews and Christians, as said by Prophet, peace be upon him, himself, that the time will come when you will bit by bit, cubit follow the ways of the formal people, the Jews and the Christians. Prophet, peace be upon him, have said that Islam has begun at something strange, and it will be a stranger again. So blessed are the strangers. Prophet, peace be upon him, says that at the end of the time there will be wahan. And the Sahaba asked, Ya Rasulullah, will we be less in number? Prophet, peace be upon him, no, you will be like the foam of the seas, but there will be wahan in your heart, which is love for this dunya and hatred for death. I would end on this note, that I have started my clip from saying that why it's impossible for me to be an atheist, but I have ended that what are the reasons people are accepting atheism. So I hope I have contributed a little bit to this discourse. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.